A major Pennsylvania prison riot is finally under control. Former HUD Secretary Sam Pierce still won't answer congressional questions. And in San Francisco, the earthquake series resumes at Candlestick.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. In many American cities and states, prisons and jails are jammed, crowded well beyond their capacity. Powder kegs. Last night, the crowded state prison in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania, blew. NBC's Robert Hager reports it was a battle to win it back.
It was big trouble for the second night in a row at this medium-security prison. Officials thought things were under control yesterday, but apparently some cell locks, damaged in the first round of violence, had come open. Prisoners left their cells, took 5 hostages, and the rioting was underway again. A Molotov cocktail thrown. Another. 12 prison buildings destroyed, more heavily damaged. All 2,600 inmates loose inside the prison, though none ever managed to escape over the prison fence. Finally, Pennsylvania State Police moved in. One hostage had already been released. Now word came another had been rescued by police. Daylight now and more police. A helicopter hovered as some police below opened fire, wounding at least 2 inmates. Tear gas was used. By now, the last of the hostages was free. And suddenly it was over. Prisoners surrendering, hundreds at a time. Police forced them to the ground. Some inmates were taken aside for questioning until State Corrections spokesman Kenneth Robinson could make this mid-morning report.
We are once again in control of the entire institution.
At a price, 60 injured. And authorities at first actually pronounced this inmate dead of a heart attack, only to discover the prisoner was still alive. And what, a policeman was asked, did it look like inside?
Everything's trashed. They destroyed everything.
Weary state police filed out the prison gate. Behind them, smoldering remains rekindled periodically, sending black smoke into the afternoon sky. Part of the problem may have been that this prison was overcrowded. Tonight, buses are moving hundreds of inmates from here, those whose cells have been burned out, moving them to other Pennsylvania prisons, all of which are also overcrowded. Robert Hager, NBC News, Camp Hill, Pennsylvania.
In Washington, former Housing Secretary Samuel Pierce still refuses to answer congressional questions about that massive scandal in HUD involving sweetheart deals and federal housing programs. So now Democrats are asking for a special prosecutor to take over this investigation. More tonight from NBC's Andrea Mitchell.
Pierce told Congress he has a story to tell, but not to a committee that he believes has unfairly accused him of wrongdoing. By refusing to cooperate in the investigation, he has, in effect, brought Congress's probe to a halt.
Mr. Secretary, why not tell your story? You said you wanted to tell your story.
The former cabinet member barred cameras from the hearing room, where he denied committing illegal or wrongful acts, and made it clear that he will continue to take the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Appearing under order of a subpoena, Pierce rejected a committee offer to name any date when he would be willing to talk. Chairman Thomas Lantos, is it your intention to continue invoking the Fifth Amendment? Pierce, I will continue to invoke my constitutional protections. Pierce's lawyer.
The only thing this committee is lacking after 6 months of investigation and millions of taxpayers' money is one iota of credible evidence.
But he has had more than ample time. During the past 2 months, Mr. Pierce has had more attorneys working on his behalf than the entire cast of LA Law.
And the committee revealed that Pierce asked the government to pick up his legal expenses, but was turned down by his successor, Housing Secretary Jack Kemp. Accusing Pierce of stonewalling their investigation, committee members now want an independent counsel, a special prosecutor, to take over.
We may well have perjury at these hearings. We need to start at the top with Samuel Pierce and an independent counsel so that this criminal investigation can get to the truth and those guilty can be punished.
Committee members say Pierce has played a game of legal hide-and-seek and that his strategy has worked. Unless the Justice Department steps in with a special prosecutor, no one is likely to know the full extent of what happened at HUD. Andrea Mitchell, NBC News at the Capitol.
President Bush is in Costa Rica tonight, meeting with leaders from throughout Latin America, and the White House is playing this one low-key, emphasizing democracy over drugs and revolution. NBC's John Cochran tells us now the president is forced to share this meeting with an old adversary.
Even before President Bush arrived, the Costa Ricans lowered expectations for the gathering of hemispheric leaders. It was officially downgraded from a summit to a meeting, and it was in danger of becoming an irrelevancy. No agreements are expected because President Bush refuses to sign anything signed by Nicaragua's Marxist leader, Daniel Ortega, who is also here. Bush complained that the news media are interested only in his feud with Ortega.
Oh, you all are looking for some kind of fight. I'm here to celebrate the 100 years.
Later, Ortega said he and Bush met briefly at the start of today's opening session. Ortega said he reminded Bush they met and argued 4 years ago in Brazil. The White House said Bush told Ortega they could have the same argument today over free elections and democracy. To celebrate 100 years of democracy in Costa Rica, President Arias sent invitations only to what he calls popularly elected leaders. Arias may not really think Ortega qualifies, but Arias wanted Ortega here to feel the pressure for an honest election in February.
There is a lot of pressure for the Sandinistas to hold those elections as free and fair as possible.
At the urging of the Americans, the Costa Ricans today agreed to devote one session to drug-fighting strategy. But Arias is putting the most emphasis on his peace plan. And now that the U.S. is no longer arming the Nicaraguan Contras, Uncle Sam is more popular here.
I believe that the democratic leaders of the Americas are reaching out to the United States, just as we are to them, offering a new partnership of mutual respect and mutual responsibility.
This two-day meeting may produce no written agreements, but there is an unwritten understanding that George Bush is not Ronald Reagan, and that Bush will be more sensitive to public opinion in Latin America. John Cochran, NBC News, San Jose, Costa Rica.
That war against drugs being discussed in Costa Rica is getting bloodier where it began in Colombia. The Army today blamed drug traffickers for the worst attack since that war began 2 months ago in earnest. A bomb blew up last night under a bus full of policemen. 5 officers were killed, 16 others hurt. It happened in Medellin, Colombia's cocaine capital. And today in that same city, a politician who had been outspoken in his opposition to drug smugglers was machine-gunned to death. Other news from that same part of the world, more or less. The White House said today that President Bush soon will promise to inform Congress about any covert action within a few days of the time that they're carried out. Congress and the administration already have agreed to cancel all previous guidelines restricting presidential actions during a foreign coup, such as the one unsuccessful against Panama's Noriega. The administration now will draw up new guidelines. Also coming up here tonight on NBC Nightly News, Fred Francis with still more on Israel's research now on a hydrogen bomb. And on Assignment Earth tonight, Roger O'Neill on one of the most dramatic rivers in the American West, running through a deep, beautiful canyon, a river threatened by development. NBC's report of a partnership between Israel and South Africa in developing nuclear missile technology today drew another angry response from Israel. Prime Minister Shamir denounced the report and said it could drive a wedge between his country and the United States. But the story doesn't end there. Tonight, NBC's Fred Francis reports about concerns that Israel may try to use America's advanced computer technology to build a hydrogen bomb. Fred?
Tom, NBC News has obtained a Pentagon study which details advances in Israel's nuclear weapons program. Advances which analysts say will enable Israel to make powerful hydrogen bombs as well as highly accurate intercontinental ballistic missiles.
This road leads to Israel's Serek nuclear reactor, where some of the advanced research is being done. This 1987 Pentagon study says of Serek's capability, quote, "It should be noted that the Israelis are developing the kind of codes which will enable them to make hydrogen bombs."
There are certainly indications from the kind of research that the Israelis have been engaged in and the kind of materials they've been getting a hold of, that they are working seriously on some kind of a hydrogen bomb option.
Shortly after Israel put a satellite in orbit with its Shavit missile, experts at the Lawrence Livermore Laboratory questioned the scientific intent of the Israeli space program, writing, quote, If Israel wanted to place a warhead of less than 1 ton on this missile, the necessary adjustments are easily within their capabilities. All of this is troubling to senior U.S. policymakers who question why the present Israeli government is developing weapons far beyond its security needs and sharing some of the technology with South Africa. The Washington Post reported today that when the U.S. protested the technology transfer to South Africa, it was told to mind its own business. So when Israeli institutions applied for a Cray supercomputer used by American firms in weapons research, senior U.S. officials suspected the supercomputer would be used illegally. Those officials have stalled their request. That has not stopped Israeli support groups in the United States from trying to raise the more than $10 million needed to purchase the supercomputer. At this dinner in Washington last month, the supporters were told the supercomputer was for the security of Israel.
I'm not going to repeat the technological justifications for this essential tool for keeping Israel in the forefront of high technology and, quote, also safe.
If you give a supercomputer to Israel, there is no way to ensure that South African missile and nuclear weapon scientists won't use it.
In the long term, it will be difficult for the U.S. to deny a supercomputer to an ally such as Israel. But one official said if they get one, the Israelis will have to be more honest with us than they are right now. Tom?
Thank you, Fred. The chairman of a House subcommittee reviewing the Navy's investigation of that explosion on board the USS Iowa says disturbing questions remain unanswered. He said he seriously questions the Navy's conclusion that the explosion probably was caused by the wrongful act of a seaman. FBI investigators also say they found no evidence to support that conclusion. However, the Navy says it stands by its findings. 47 sailors were killed in the explosion. When American journalist Terry Anderson was kidnapped by pro-Iranian terrorists in Lebanon, he was 37 years old. Today, still being held hostage, he marked his 42nd birthday. We don't know how he spent this day, but in Washington, his friends and fellow newsmen prayed for his liberation at a Mass of hope. At the Mass, children carried pictures of Anderson and all the other hostages still being held in Lebanon. And along with the prayers, there were vows that the hostages would never be forgotten. In Beirut, meanwhile, television stations broadcast a videotape in which Anderson's daughter, who has never seen him, sang him.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Daddy. Happy birthday to you.
We would like to report that Terry Anderson saw that tape on his birthday, but of course we have no way of knowing whether he did or not. East Germany's new leadership today offered amnesty to all those who escaped the country or who were caught and punished for trying to get out. It comes too late, of course, for the 200 East Germans who died since 1961 trying to get over the Berlin Wall. However, as NBC's Mike Betcher reports tonight, there is no need to try that one anymore.
This is as close as it gets to serenity along the Berlin Wall. East German border guards, men who once would have shot to kill, have little to do now but amuse themselves chasing ducks. These days, there are other routes to freedom. No one has to risk passing through their gun sights in a dangerous swim across a river or a climb over a wall in order to make it to the west. Even those who the guards have caught now have been granted amnesty. So too have the tens of thousands of refugees who have fled East Germany in recent weeks. The hundreds of thousands of East Germans who demonstrated against the government also are covered by amnesty. All, according to the communist leadership's decree, can have a second chance in East Germany. East Germany wants them, must have them, to reinvigorate its withering industry and society. It hopes that a politically more attractive East Germany will satisfy them. Last night, a crowd of 100,000 came together in Dresden to hear the local Communist Party leader pledge that revolutionary change was coming to East Germany. It must come, said Dresden's mayor, who lamented that his nation has lost 1/5 of its population to the west. Bert Munk and Andre Ziert escaped from East Germany a little over a month ago. The amnesty offer and events since they left are tempting them to visit again. I don't trust all this, said Andres, but I'm going to wait a while and perhaps go over in a few weeks. What concrete results will there be in the long run, wondered Bernd. I'll wait a while to see if they are real. The glitter of the West is a powerful magnet that can only be countered by a stronger attraction from the East. Playing in the West tonight, a party celebrating the premiere of Batman. In the East, the birth of a powerful reform movement. For the first time, East Germans could have a choice which attraction they would like to attend. Mike Betcher, NBC News, East Berlin.
In Britain, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher today shrugged off a cabinet crisis in which her foreign, her defense, and treasury secretaries all changed. She said it's business as usual, but critics called yesterday's shuffle the worst trouble over her 10 years in office, and some called on her to resign. Tonight on Assignment Earth, our series of reports on the environment, the battle over Black Canyon. NBC's Roger O'Neill reports this is a battle over water, a battle in which the demands of man are pitted against the needs of nature.
Oh, gorgeous. Beautiful. As far as you can see.
It's the Black Canyon of the Gunnison, a national monument. A chasm in the earth 50 miles long and 2,000 feet deep in western Colorado.
And look at the black shadows. That's what I love, the shadows. You can see why they call it the Black Canyon.
Yes.
But the water, which for 2 million years has been carving through the solid rock to form the canyon, is wanted elsewhere. To make electricity, for suburban homes, for green grass, for farmers who need it to grow crops on land which used to be desert. So many groups have claimed a right to use the water that in a dry year, it's feared the Gunnison River would go dry. Developers want to build 3 big new water diversion projects upstream from Black Canyon, and that has worried the National Park Service.
We're supposed to preserve the areas that we're entrusted with so that they can be enjoyed now and also be in similar state sometime in the near future so that our children and our children's children can see them as we see them today.
The courts have already ruled some water has to flow through the canyon. How much is what the government is trying to figure out. Most people think it will be more than what it is today. And if it's a lot more, the developers would have to change their plans.
We do have to balance man's needs against the needs of the environment. And eventually somebody's going to have to determine which is the greater need.
Hank Coates has been fishing, rafting, enjoying the canyon for 30 years. And he believes it's worth preserving, regardless of what man may have to do without.
I liken the Black Canyon to a cathedral, the largest cathedral that one could ever enter. The inspiration of the place is beyond your comprehension.
Keith Catlin's been farming here all his life.
I enjoy the canyon as much as anybody else does, but I think that we're not doing anything to damage the canyon, and I definitely don't think that more water would make it better.
In the West, people like to say whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting. The Black Canyon of the Gunnison could be the scene of the next water war. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Montrose, Colorado.
Another environmental dispute tonight. Exxon now has resigned from the corporate advisory board of the National Wildlife Federation, charging the Federation was unfair in its criticism of the Alaskan oil spill. The Federation shot back that Exxon has become, quote, a corporate pariah. It's been a very long time between the second and third game of the 1989 World Series, the first and we hope the last World Series to be interrupted by an earthquake. In case you've forgotten, Oakland was leading 2-0 when the series moved to Candlestick a week ago Tuesday. Well, the series resumed tonight, and here's NBC's Bob Jamieson.
The crowd arriving for tonight's game brought Candlestick Park back to life.
There has been a power failure, therefore the game has been postponed.
For the 10 days since the earthquake canceled Game 3, time has been suspended there. The interruption in the series and the uncertainty over its resumption had become symbols of the suspension of life as it had been in the Bay Area before the earthquake. Every day, the Giants had returned to the place where they witnessed the quake, trying to focus on baseball. And slowly, like the rest of the city, they began to look beyond the tragedy.
To me,
this ballpark is our home. Our home was hit by the earthquake a little bit. So what are we going to do? We're going to quit and go and leave it like it is, or come back and repair it and go on with our job.
Repairs were completed and Candlestick was certified as safe for tonight's crowd. There is so little fear that fewer than 100 people sought refunds for their tickets. In fact, a public opinion poll out today showed that an overwhelming 78% of Bay Area residents support tonight's resumption of the series. Many have embraced it as a sure sign of recovery. Even in the Marina District, those residents hardest hit by the earthquake welcome the return of baseball.
Yes, I'm going.
Susan Butler was at Candlestick when the earthquake struck, and she's back there tonight.
I was there the night that it happened, so I'm going back for Game 3. I think we need that as just a release, you know, from all the tension that we've been under, especially down here, because it's so emotional. It's real tough.
Doug Thorne isn't even a baseball fan, but welcomes the end to at least some of San Francisco's uncertainty.
It's one of the things that we could start and finish and have some resolution to. It kind of gives you a sense of being grounded again.
And there's something else. For the high-profile, highly paid stars like center fielder Brett Butler, the tragedy has put life in perspective.
The game is just a game, and that's as far as it goes. And when it comes to family and life and God and where our direction is, that's what I mean by putting it in perspective.
Butler and his teammates will never forget what happened, but tonight they believe that life, like the World Series, has resumed. Bob Jamieson, NBC News, San Francisco.
That's Nightly News for this Friday night. Tomorrow night, Maria Shriver from Los Angeles, and I'll see you again on Monday.